Well, moving on to another important question that was asked by MP Sujit Kumar from Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. The member has sought details as to how government plans or intends to regulate social media, which often has become platform for fake news and spreading hatred, which is putting society at risk.
So this is a very important question in the current scenario, and the response has been given by MOS meeting, Mr. Sanjay Dhotre, and he says that cyberspace is a complex environment with people, hardware, software and services on the internet. Now cyberspace is borderless and it is coupled with the possibility of instant communication and anonymity. The potential of misuse of social media to spread hatred or fake news to disrupt peace and harmony is a global issue. Government of India is committed to free speech and expression, along with upholding the privacy of the citizens as enshrined in Constitution of India. The social media sites for user-generated content hosted and transmitted on their platform are intermediaries as defined in the Information Technology Act 2000, and they have to follow certain due diligence specified in the Information Technology Intermediaries Guidelines Rules 2011 notified under Section 79 of the Act. The intermediaries are required to inform the users of computer resources not to host, display, upload, modify, publish, transmit, update or share any information that is grossly harmful, harassing, defamatory, libelous, invasive of another's privacy, hateful or racially or ethnically objectionable, disparaging or otherwise unlawful in any manner. They are also expected to remove any unlawful content relatable to Article 19(2) of the Constitution of India and when brought to their knowledge either through a court order or through a notice by appropriate government or its agency. And joining us on the question hour show is Rajya Sabha MP Mr. Sujit Kumar. Mr. Kumar, welcome to Sabha Television. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
During the 252nd session of the Rajya Sabha, you asked a very pertinent question on regulating social media that incites hatred in the society, that peddles fake news. Certainly a very important issue. The government says it's a global phenomenon.
During the monsoon session of the parliament, I had raised an unstarred question regarding regulating of social media because online hatred, fake news, online manipulation, hate speeches have reached dangerous proportion in India. If Facebook is to be believed, then India probably is the single most nation in the world with the highest number of fake news and hate speeches being forwarded on WhatsApp and being disseminated on Facebook. So I wanted to know from the government what the government's thinking is, because in 2019 September, the Honorable Supreme Court had directed the government to frame rules for regulating social media, and in October of the same year, the Government of India had submitted a petition, an affidavit at the Supreme Court, stating that in the next 3 months the government is coming out with a guideline and draft regulation for regulating social media. It's more than a year now, we are yet to see that draft guideline. And as of now, there are no legal provisions per se which can regulate online hate speeches, trolling, character assassination. All we have is the Indian Penal Code, we have the Information Technology Act of 2000, we have the IT Intermediary Guideline Rules of 2011. They are definitely necessary, but I think not sufficient. So I was keen to know from the government if the government was serious enough to come up with the draft guideline, which it was supposed to by January 2020, and the 2011 rules were also supposed to be amended, and the draft rule was circulated in the parliament by the then minister in 2018, but we haven't seen any further action.
The government also says that it is committed to upholding the privacy of the citizens, the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech. But then one has to strike a balance between the unregulated content on social media. So how do we strike that balance?
See, regulating social media is a very tricky issue. On the one hand, you have the freedom of speech and expression guaranteed by our Constitution under Article 19(1)(a), and the right to privacy is also read into the fundamental right by Honorable Supreme Court. On the other hand, you have online hate speeches and incitement to violence, trolling, reaching very, very dangerous proportions. There are numerous examples where lynching, communal flare-up, mass lynching, mass murder have happened because of these online hate speeches. Some of these online hate speeches are dangerous. Some of them are not dangerous, but definitely untrue. So we have to strike that balance. And I think after the 2015 judgment, Union of India versus Sriya Singhal, the Supreme Court had made it abundantly clear that freedom of speech and expression is sacrosanct. While striking down 66A of the IT Act, the Supreme Court made it very, very clear that unless it comes under the reasonable restriction clause of 19(2) of the Constitution, the provisions of the 66 or the IT Act would not be valid. But on the other hand, the Supreme Court is very, very cognizant of the fact that online hate speeches need to be regulated, and this is why it directed the Government of India last year to come up with a guideline so that social media could be regulated. So I do agree that it's a very, very tricky issue. We need to have a fine balance, and there are a lot of templates across the globe. In fact, Malaysia, Singapore, Germany, France, EU, Australia, almost all of these countries have stringent laws for punishing fake news. And I think we have enough examples across the globe, we have enough templates across the globe which can serve us as to how we can maintain that balance between freedom of speech, which is very, very sacrosanct in a democracy, and regulating hate speeches, regulating trolling, which is really, crippling our democratic system.
So since the government also says that it is a global phenomena, and you also talked about the templates, which template do you think suits our country as divergent as it is?
I think we have to design a template based on our own socio-cultural landscape. Indians by nature are storytellers, and we love gossiping. So I think there is no single template which can really suit us. What we could possibly look at is how Italy, for instance, has experimented with, inculcating social media etiquette in the school curriculum, so that school children are aware and able to identify online hate speeches when they see it. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful experiment that they have done in 8,000 high schools of Italy, which we should definitely emulate or at least study. Germany has a provision where any social media intermediary, meaning social media platforms like WhatsApp, Twitter, etc., they have to remove any objectionable content within 24 hours of being flagged. In Australia, if any social media platform is found to be storing or disseminating objectionable content, then 10% of the annual revenue generated from that country, from that particular platform, has to be paid as a penalty. So yeah, there are multiple templates, and I think we have to follow a template which educates our citizens, and preferably the education should start at the school level itself. We need to adopt a template where the social media intermediaries or platforms can self-regulate, because I think self-governance, self-regulation is the best way to regulate social media. And finally, there has to be exemplary punishment and penal provisions if the platforms are found to be wanting in their social responsibility of regulating objectionable content.
Well, Mr. Kumar, that was a very valid suggestion that you gave to the government. Thank you so much for joining us on the Quest Now show.
Thank you very much.